Come on, Doug. 3,
Hello there.
2.
Good evening, everyone. We're here at the Greenacre Splash Park webinar discussing the concept designs for a really exciting new splash park in Greenacre. I'd like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land we live and work on, the Darug and Eora peoples, and pay my respect to their elders past, present, and emerging. My name is Doug Millen. I'm in the community engagement team at City of Canterbury Bankstown. And I'm joined by Sharon Gow, our graduate digital engagement officer. She's going to be helping things run smoothly behind the scenes. Emily Forrest is team leader, city transformation. In a moment, she'll be giving a presentation. And Colin Dagger is a landscape architect at council in the city transformation team, and he'll be helping to answer some of your questions. So this webinar is part of a series called CBTV Keep Connected, which is one of Council's initiatives to keep us active and connected to each other and to what's happening locally during the pandemic and the physical distancing restrictions. You can see on my screen in just a tick, here we go. Here's a bit more information about Keep Connected. That's on Council's website. Coming up this week, we have a preschool story time, fitness sessions, a virtual art gallery with local artists, performances by local singers, and even a webinar on saving energy at home. You can find out more by searching CBTV or by going to Council's website using the short link cb.city. So I mentioned that I'm in the community engagement team. And our job is to get feedback from and partner with community members on projects in your community. And one of the ways we do that is through our online feedback portal called Have Your Say. This is it here on the screen. And right now you can have your say on projects such as traffic changes in Revesby, services for people with disabilities, and propose changes to a range of agreements as they arise. The best way to stay informed about these projects is to sign up as a user, and you'll receive newsletters, notifications of new projects, and most importantly, you can follow projects and receive notifications about them over time. So you would just hit join up here and sign up, pop in your details, and then you'll be able to follow projects such as Greenacre Splash. To find out more about that, you can check out the email I'll send at the end of the webinar, or visit cb.city/haveyoursay to sign up. Now, let's get into Greenacre Splash. From now until Sunday, the 21st of June, we're asking for feedback on concept designs for this new all abilities water splash park for the northeast corner of Roberts Park in Greenacre next to the sports fields. And it's anticipated to open in late 2021. It's a pretty exciting new project, and it will be the first free splash park of its kind in Canterbury Bankstown. And it'll give kids and families access to high quality water play close to home without the need to travel or pay. It'll have a Dreamtime story about TIDALK the frog woven through it, and kids will be able to follow TIDALK through the park and learn from the wise wombat featured in the Aboriginal Dreamtime story of the same name. This splash park will be great for being active and getting outdoors, which we all know is really good for health and well-being. It'll also be a really good place for families to meet up and for kids to play together. Now, what does a splash park include? Well, what does this project include specifically? It includes water play and a splash park. One is a bit more exciting than the other. One is a bit calmer than the other, and Emily will go through that in a minute. It'll include open space and landscaping upgrades. That means trees and terraces and things like that. It'll include seating and shade. It's being designed to be inclusive for all abilities. That means people with disabilities. It'll have toilets and change rooms. It'll have an accessible toilet, an adult change toilet, and a family change room. and it'll have barbecues and picnic shelters too. Now, I'm going to show you where it's going to be in Greenacre. Just going to add a layer on this map so you can see. Zoom out a tiny bit. Up here, we've got Waterloo Road shops in Greenacre. And we go down Waterloo Road a bit, and you can see that pink section. That's where the splash park is going to be, on Acacia Avenue, and it's next to the sports fields. What's the timing on this project? So on Sunday the 21st, we will close the feedback window, and then we'll spend much of the rest of this year working on the detailed designs for the project. Construction will begin in early 2021. The splash park will open in late 2021, in time for summer. And we're seeking funding for a dry playground component, which Emily will show you shortly. Now, before we get started, I'd like to take a moment to get to know who's here. I'm going to share a poll. I'll stop sharing my screen, and here comes a poll. So on your screen, you should see a few questions. Give those a tick based on which of the below describes you best. And I'll give you 10 or 20 seconds. Let's power through this, and then we'll all be able to see the results. Just 10 seconds more and we will wrap up. It's a flash poll. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. So we've got a couple of people who live in or near Greenacre. We've got a bunch of people who are excited about the splash park, which is great. And we have some people whose families are likely to use the splash park. That's awesome. It's great to have you here. I ran through them without showing you. So you can see you live in or near Greenacre, you're excited about the splash park, or your family is likely to use the splash park. All right. So in a moment, I'm going to throw to Emily for the presentation on the concept designs. And during her presentation, you can feel free to ask your own questions or comment on another person's question and upvote other questions. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a Q&A button. That's if you're on a desktop. And if you're on a mobile device, just have a look around, maybe tap a few things and see if you can find the Q&A button. And it should give you the option to ask a question. Now, I'm going to ask everyone to please be polite and respectful of everyone in the room today. And please also be conscious that we're here to talk about Greenacre Splash Park. So we'll keep conversation and questions to those. If there are any other projects or issues you'd like to discuss, please feel free to call Council's customer service on 9707 9000. Maybe after the webinar, stay for the good stuff. Or you can email me in response to the follow-up email I'll send after this webinar. So thanks so much for your help in keeping us on topic. Now I'd like to introduce Emily Forrest. Over to you. It looks like Emily's muted. I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name's Emily Forrest, as Doug said. I'm a landscape architect and arborist, and I've worked for council for many years, and I feel a real connection to our community. Even though I don't live in the local government area, I feel very strongly and very passionately about creating inclusive play spaces. I know that's shared by our mayor and councillors. They've shown significant support and enthusiasm for this project. And they've also allocated significant amounts of grant funding, and they're really excited about creating a landmark feature destination and a quality free water play park that our community really deserves. Doug's stolen a lot of my thunder in terms of introducing the project, so I'm going to just provide a little bit of background information perhaps around some of the strategies that's led us to this point. In particular, Council as an amalgamated entity has had to align a lot of its strategic plans, and in particular the Playgrounds and Play Spaces strategic plan was adopted by Council in September 2018. And that looked at all of the play spaces across the whole of the local government area and looked at where the real needs were, where perhaps we had an oversupply and where we had an undersupply of facilities for our community. So a lot of the open spaces that we had were sort of categorised as either Tier 1, Tier 2 or Tier 3. Tier 1 being the destination regional type play spaces that were deemed for a longer stay, so they'd be provided with a higher level of amenities such as, you know, toilets and shade and those sorts of things. In addition to, and sorry, this Roberts Park at Greenacre and the Greenacre Splash is, it meets those criteria and is a Tier 1 play space. Another of the plans that has been recently adopted by Council in August last year was the Leisure and Aquatic Supporting Plan. You'd be aware that Greenacre Pool will be closing permanently, but also as a bit of an offset to that, but also in meeting the recreational needs in the Greenacre area. We did ask the question, you know, would you be supportive of a free water play park in the Greenacre area? And over 70% of people did agree that that would be supported and welcome into that area. But also, why Greenacre? I mean, Greenacre is actually a central location within our LGA. It's approximately 8 kilometres to the west, where our boundary is at Georges Hall. It's another 8 kilometres to the east to hit our other boundary at Earlwood, and about 8 kilometres to the south you meet the Georges River and Picnic Point, so the southern boundary of our LGA. So Greenacre is really quite centrally placed within our LGA and quite suitable for this amenity. And the other plan that's quite important too is our CB City 2028, the Community Strategic Plan, which sets out all of the spending and all of the, across the different areas. So, you know, not just the roads, rates and rubbish, but community facilities and community, you know, playgrounds and sports fields and so forth. So it is supported in that plan as well. Another really critical guiding document is the New South Wales Everyone Can Play Guidelines for Inclusive Play. Now, Council was an active participant in putting together those guidelines, and so indeed was our consultant designers who are working on this project with us, Place Design Group. So they were quite instrumental in putting those document together for the government. They are guidelines, but they are quite comprehensive and have been thoroughly researched, and they bring forth 3 really key principles guiding inclusivity and inclusive play. And those are: can I get there, can I play, can I stay? Those different items. Can I get there? Well, it's about, is it accessible? Do people feel welcome in the park? Are there good pathways throughout? Is it accessible? Is it easy to navigate? Is there good signage? Can I play? When I get there, is there something that I can do? Is there something that my toddler and my teenage child can play on? Recognising that not everybody can play on everything, but there is something there for everybody. And can I stay is around what's the level of comfort that I have when I get to that play space? You know, is there seating? Is there shade? Can I have a drink of water? Is there toilets for myself and my child? So all of those things are part of the lens that we look at when we're designing. So about the site itself, the site really presented itself to us. At Roberts Park at Greenacre, it became quite obvious that there was really an ideal space in the northeast corner of the park. Sorry, Doug, are we able to share the image of the concept plan?
Absolutely, I'll just bring that up. And I'll get the concept plans. Here we go. This is the one you're after?
That's what I'm after, yes, yes.
You can see that okay?
I can see that okay. I hope everyone else can.
Great.
All right, so this was the site that was chosen. It's bounded by Waterloo Road, Napoleon Road and Acacia Avenue. We do have 5 residents to the north of the site. We have Greenacre Public School, which is just shaded by this grey box. We have an early childhood centre, a neighbourhood centre, parking, and then there's some facilities that support the existing sports field. So none of those will actually be changed as a result of this project, although we have identified that there is potential for future upgrade of the existing skate park there in number 5. So where we're looking at for the proposed play space and water play park is down here in the northeast corner. So we're looking at retaining the existing car park that's there. And we were able to also gain some funding that's actually outside of this project. We're a little bit clever with that. So we'll be refurbishing that existing car park and reline marking to incorporate the accessible car parking spaces. That's nice and level, and nice level entry into the playground itself. Also further along Acacia Avenue, we are able to create 16 spaces rear to curb, so people can also visit there and unload, and it's quite easy access to the play space itself. We're very aware that the Greenacre Public School also utilise the car park and access their school in the rear gate. That will also still be able to occur from both of those car parks once the new play space is open. Okay, might move on to the next one. I don't have control of this, do I?
No, I'm just going to switch to a different view. If you'll bear with me. Bear with me. Thanks for holding on.
Okay.
Here we go. Nice to have a little break midstream.
Yeah.
And over to the next page. Here you go.
I'm not seeing.
Oh, my apologies.
Yeah.
How's that?
That's much better. Okay.
Great.
All right. So I've moved on. We've just had a look at the overall site, and now I'll have a look at a close-up of the actual arrangement. I do have to stress that this is a concept plan. So what you're seeing here is probably the best guess of where things will go and how they'll be arranged. It's done with a lot of consideration and thought, but it's not the final result. So you will find that the final design will be a little bit different to the arrangement that we've got here, but the fundamentals will be the same. We will be designing for the entire play space, although I have to say we are not currently funded for the dry play section of the play space. At the moment, we can deliver car parking, the amenities, the water splash pad, the water play, and also the kickabout area to the north. This is a result of councillors really wanting to invest in the very best water play facility and to really give the community the splash park that is high level, high quality, and as good as anywhere you'll find comparable in other parks around Sydney. And also we want to make sure that the design is ready so that if funding does become available, particularly grant funding, that we are ready to go and we can possibly, put in applications for that in order to deliver the dry play. But we're certainly designing it all as one, but delivering it at this point in two separate stages. Okay. So do you have control, Doug? Can you go on to the next slide?
Sure.
All right, I'd just like to go back to our TIDALK Dreamtime story, and I'm actually going to hand to Colin in a minute to run us through that. But I actually was a bit remiss. I was supposed to also do an acknowledgement of country, and I might just sneak that in now if I can. I'd also like to show my respect and acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land, the subject of which we are now meeting. We were very excited to incorporate a First Nations story into the design of the park and embed the story in. We've been talking to some of the local elders. It's a real opportunity for us to not only educate our young local population, but to also embed some of the magic that is the Dreamtime stories and the lessons that we can learn from that. Colin, did you want to add anything onto this? Because I know you're very passionate about this particular aspect of the park.
Sorry, just putting my microphone on there. Yeah, look, when we integrate First Nations culture into the park, it's really important that we just don't give it a bit of a brown wash. The whole concept of the dreaming story of TIDALK, which is a New South Wales-based story, is about taking that fable, for want of a better term, and integrating it to every facet of the park. So it's in the fabric of it. So we'll be able to have Aboriginal art from the Darug Nation in the park itself. We'll be able to have a chronological series of interpretive items that will take you through the park. So it's possible for parents to lead their children to the park and relate the Dreamtime story to how the park is actually designed and constructed. And this is a way that we can celebrate our Indigenous culture and understand how that fits into country, which is the very essence of their foundation fabric. And it's something that as the landscape architects, that's one of our key action plans, is to promote First Nations culture and interact it to the benefit of the public.
Yeah, nicely said. You may notice also that we've got the story weaving from the dry play through the wet play as well. That doesn't matter. It can actually start at anywhere. We've got the sort of beginnings of the storytelling in at the story circle in the sort of toddlers play area, but it does also flow through with the different play elements through the play space itself. I'll just go on to the next slide because we've actually got some images of some of the interpretive type elements that we're looking at. So the top sort of corner shows the sort of the story circle. So it's an opportunity for sort of discovery of little elements that can be hidden within different play elements within the park. Certainly within the ground plane or some of the balance beams or totems. None of this has been designed yet. This is all still to be worked through, in consultation with our First Nations people and probably local children as well. It's really great to get them involved in the designing of their play space. So it's quite wonderful that we have a rather large and very interested primary school next door. And I'm sure that they would be more than happy to, be a part of that process as well. Okay, so I'll move on. Now get down to business with the actual play space itself. Now I want to just describe the difference between a splash pad and water play, because we are aiming to provide both. Splash pad, which is this larger sort of area here, is quite a level playing surface. It's a hard stand, so concrete, but with different colours and different elements of sprays that pop up, so jets and fountains and different spray effects that happen in this space. And in the middle, of course, there's the giant feature mega soaking bucket, which will have everybody squealing with joy. The idea is that this is quite an active space. We find that children typically run through these spaces. So you might find that it's sort of dominated by the sort of older children, sort of maybe 5 through to 12. We wanted to make sure that there's also a quiet area that also has some of the the spouts and the geysers that is just offline here, so slightly separated, just to the east there. In our water play section, so this is more of the quiet play. I mean, Doug mentioned in his introduction that it's more about the quiet play, about cause and effect with water. So water channels or water rippling over different textures. You can race, you know, leaves and so forth, like we used to do in, with brothers and sisters and so forth, you know, racing leaves down a channel. Sluice skates and that sort of thing, little small water cascades. And that is at a slightly lower area. So the fall of the land is so that this water play area is slightly lower. And then we've got a ramp that circles around back up into the active play area. Also, you'll notice that these there's some little, almost little brown rectangles sort of around the site. We're looking at those as, no, that's a shelter. That's a little picnic shelter. I was looking at more of these train tracks. Sorry, I don't have control of the mouse here, so it's a little bit, yeah, those are the ones. Incidental seating, sort of sandstone type logs that provides incidental seating for parents to sit and observe and watch their children. And also some grass embankments sitting above, so you can look down over the splash pad itself. Okay, just on to the next slide, we'll have a look at some of the splash elements. We did want some wow factor, so we are looking at going for something that's really spectacular in terms of the mega bucket. Who needs one when we can have 4? All of these different spray elements are proposed for the park, so there is quite a variety of different types of, you know, you can play on your own or you can play spraying your brother or sister. It's you know, it's up to you, but they're generally very active, lots of fun, lots of different water effects. With the splash pad too, we are looking at that being predominantly, it will be a little bit seasonal. We think probably summer and shoulder periods it will be operational, but it will probably be closed for some time during the winter for servicing. We can uncouple those different elements and service them and change them around and put them back in. But the water play, because it is from a hand pump operation and children tend not to get as saturated when they're playing, that will be sort of open all year round. Yeah. We still don't know exactly what the operational model will be for in terms of staffing the water play park. It is anticipated that it will be quite popular, and we do anticipate that we will probably have staff there at least in the summer periods when it is quite busy. Certainly as a help station or somewhere to give out band-aids if we have you know, some grazed knees or a help point. In terms of the water quality and the water that's cycling through the system itself, we are guided by the same rules that guide swimming pools. So the New South Wales Public Health Guidelines in terms of filtering the water, treating the water, recycling it through and using UV filtration as well. We are going to set up an automatic shutdown and alerts when we do have you know, a pollution incident in, or an accident within that. And it is treated recycled water too, but potable water. So we do have those checks and balances built in. Might move on, Doug, next one. Now I will go through the dry play as well, because we are looking at, as I said before, designing for the full play experience on the site. We wanted to focus the dry play at the top of the hill. This is the sort of the crest of the play space, with a hero play element. Number 1 right down the south end of the park is what we refer to as a hero element. We're looking at this stage of that being quite a large twin towers or a series of towers with rope bridge in between and slide. And also giant swing. We know that we have families where there's multiple children playing at once, so we're looking at lots of swings. So those ones that you're pointing at there, Doug, at number 7, they're actually the more traditional type swings, but the giant swing is, yeah, number 2 over in this bottom corner. We've designed those particularly away from the toddlers play because they tend to be, again, more active play, older children. All the pathways through here are accessible, so prams and wheelchairs can navigate their way throughout the play space. We are looking at a carousel that is similar to the one in Bankstown City Gardens, where you can wheel a wheelchair onto that, and children that are in a chair can actually play alongside able-bodied children. We're also looking...
Emily, we've had a question. Can we add a flying fox?
Flying fox. It's not part of what we're proposing at the moment, but we'll take that suggestion on board. They're always very popular, but we do have a couple in the LGA already, so we'll see about that. Oh, sorry, back to where I was going. We've also got the Peregrine Ground trampolines, which are great for, you know, again, you can wheel a wheelchair onto that, or somebody who's got movement issues can also move onto that kind of platform and feel a different sort of sensation. Hill slides as well are always very popular, and they're always a great way to make use of a change in landform that you have. So scramble wall up the side and then the hill slides. Over all of this, we'll be putting shade sails. So we will do a full analysis to maximise the shade that is thrown on the park. They're just shown as an indication, but we do a full analysis so we do get maximum coverage. And we do a combination of tree planting, particularly on the north and the western sides, and in combination with shade sails as well. Right, moving on, next one. So I think we've seen most of those, so I might go on to the next one, which is around materials. What do I need to say here? We are looking at providing picnic shelters that would cater for big groups as well as small groups. We do know that we will have, they'll be quite popular, so we are putting them throughout the playground as well. Through the play space, so near the equipment, near the water play, and also down in the kickabout area down the bottom. Plus there'll be a lot of incidental seating in terms of the sandstone logs and walls and so forth. We are looking at doing durable surfaces, so concrete, painted concrete, and you know, different stones through that to give some sort of effect and sort of give some variation, also colour contrast for those that have sight impairment. But they will be wide enough to be accessible. And also we need to be able to get our utes in to service the playground occasionally. So, you know, having wide enough pathways so that we could run our service vehicles in, topping up of mulch and planting and so forth, cleaning, emptying bins and so forth. Bins aren't shown on this plan yet. That is something that we will, of course, incorporate into the play space, but that will come at a much more detailed phase. Probably the last thing to go through is the amenities building and what we're providing with our amenities. So we did some work with the local, we consulted with the Watson's Women's Group, who are a group of community representatives. And we had a wonderful conversation with them around, you know, what was the best way for us to design the amenity building for this type of facility. Very definitely the message was to have separate male and female toilets, which we have done. We are also proposing to have wash stations that are external to the toilet facility. So if a child just needs to wash their hand, they can just go over and do that on the outside of the building and still be inside of the parent. They don't have to go inside an enclosed facility in order to wash their hands or feet. We also are including a wheelchair accessible bathroom at the end of that block. Also under the same continuous roof line, but in the other building line, we're proposing at the front end, a kiosk which has beautiful sight lines across the park. So that will be a kiosk space where our staff will be based. There will probably be a small amount of goods like you know, halal pies and maybe hot chips, coffees, teas, water, those sorts of things for sale. and nappies as well, possibly water nappies, sunscreen, those sorts of things that we normally find on the aquatic centre offer. Immediately behind that, we have a changing places amenity, which is the adult change facility. Our council was one of the first, or the first, to deliver one of these within a public play space with Bankstown City Gardens. And that's a level of amenity that is for profoundly disabled or those that have continence issues. So it's a hydraulic adult-sized change table and the hoist facilities. So particularly designed for inclusivity. Immediately behind that, we have another change room, which is we considered, you know, what does a father do if he's at this water play park with his daughter and he needs to change her get her dry and change her in a place that's private and secure, and that's what we're providing, this room that's people can go in and just close the door, change their child and move on. So it's a family change room. Behind that, we have the pump and store, and that's accessible directly off Acacia Avenue. So for easy access, that's where our chemicals will be stored. One thing that I didn't mention, up near the nexus point, so where these two buildings meet, we're actually going to provide for a coffee cart kind of amenity to come in. We don't think that this facility will be able to support a full-time coffee shop, but certainly where we've seen these happen in other parks, they're not always a good business or an easy business to establish. So perhaps by introducing coffee cart at peak times, it will be a way to grow or incubate a business, or it could be even a social enterprise arrangement that is established there. I think that's probably about all I've got. I've covered a fair bit of ground. I'm sure there's been questions that have come in. I haven't seen what they are, but I suppose some of the key aspects that I'd like to just reinforce is that it is an inclusive play space, the water play park and the dry play. We do want people to feel welcome in that space, so old and young. The more people we have visiting, the more eyes are on the playground, so there's less likelihood of crime occurring. We have designed this with a safety by design principles, and we are fitting out the park with help post and CCTV and a limited amount of lighting, but some security lighting, but certainly capacity for those to be incorporated in the future if we needed to. I'll cover off on car parking as well, because I know that always comes up as an issue. We are maintaining the existing car parking there, which is 22 spaces, and 6 of those are going to be accessible. On the Acacia Street, we've got new car parking of 16 rear to curb. And in Waterloo Road, over with the neighbourhood centre, we also have 42 spaces, and 4 of those are accessible. So that's 80 car parking spaces that are off street, and we've got about 50 spaces with the shoulder to curb along the perimeter of Roberts Park. That's it for me. I've talked a lot, so happy to answer any questions.
Great, thank you so much, Emily. What a fantastic overview, and you have been talking a while. You deserve a sip of water. There we go. So I'll just remind everyone, please do feel free to ask some questions. We've got the Q&A function. Depending on the device you're using, it might be at the bottom of the screen. It's called Q&A. It's different from the chat feature. We've had a few questions come in already that we've touched on. For example, the flying fox, the family change room, and we touched on safety at night. And you'll also see that Colin has made some comments in the Q&A as well. We've got another question. They've said, sorry if I missed it, how much shade is planned? I do want to flag that in some of the engagement materials, we haven't actually shown the shade that is planned, because in the picture it shades the equipment that's also planned. So there's heaps of shade planned, even though it's not in the pictures. And Emily, could you elaborate a little bit?
Sure. So we always look for a combination of different types of shade. Obviously, we plant trees, but they don't provide instant shade. We have to wait a few years for those. We do make sure that key elements such as slides, they've got to face south or west, and also have shade on them as well. So we do an analysis that shows where the shade will be projected. Shade obviously moves different time of day and also different time of the year. So it's a bit of a moving feast. Also in the splash pad part of the park, we will have fixed umbrellas that will be providing shade as well. So it's a combination of different things. Up in the Nexus area, there is a little bit of shade there, but not a lot of seating in that particular area. But if there is, for example, a little bit of a downpour, you could run in and get some protection from the rain. About 40 people could fit into that space. Yeah.
Cool, thank you. We also had a question about perhaps a comment. I'd love to see some more thought put into the packaging options so that waste doesn't become an issue. Our sustainability team will be happy to hear that comment, and I'm sure we'll see it in the results as well. We've got another comment. We need more shade and shelters around the splash park because parents will sit all around and most need to keep eyes on kids. Mm-hmm. We've absolutely kept that in mind during the designs. And a new question, will the park be open 24/7 or will there be closing hours? Emily or Colin, who's keen on commenting?
Do you want me to go or do you want to go, Colin? I'll go. It's not designed to be 24 hours. Obviously it is open. We're not going to gate this. We're not planning at this stage of it being fenced. However, we can make sure that the water elements don't operate after a certain time. So we can certainly program those so they're not operational, all through the night. Yeah, I mean, security lighting, that is probably important, particularly around the buildings, to make sure that there's not people hanging around in that space. But a lot of this will be, we may sort of need to assess as we go what's happening in the space and how we need to manage it. Yeah, so does that answer the question? Yeah. I
think so. Thank you. And while we've got a lull in questions, I'm going to share my screen again so that I can show some of the great artist's impressions of the park that kind of put you on the ground in the splash park and see what it looks and feels like. Here we've got this is an impression of the splash pad. Heaps of kids. You can see heaps of greenery. Heaps of space for parents and carers and friends to sit down and watch, maybe not get too wet. I'm going to scroll down a bit more to something else on the Have Your Say site. Here we go. This is an example of the water play. So we're seeing kind of quieter play, no big splashy things. Emily talked about the floating leaves, and there's even a cute little paper boat in there. And this is the future dry play. And you can see we've got the hero play element, which has a big slide on the left there. We've got step-free flat access for people on wheels. And we've got a couple of slides and the wall for clambering up the side. Now,
you might need to scroll. It looks like it's stuck on the homepage for a second.
Yeah, I'm just seeing the homepage too, Doug.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yeah, that's right.
Where did I lose you? Here we go. This is the dry play. We've got the hero play feature on the left, some slides in the center, embankment slides, and then clambering down the wall on the right. And did we see above us the water play?
Mm-hmm.
Cool. We've got another question. Can't we make a splash park with water slides where kids can climb up and slide down? I imagine a lot of hard decisions go into what features we put into a splash park like this. Emily and Colin, can either of you comment on how we choose the equipment and why there's not a water slide?
It was really important to our mayor and councillors that we had a water play park that was free and accessible to all. So if you start to look at elements that are like that, so the larger ones with water slides and so forth, they generally have the slides ending in a standing water. So you'd need at least sort of 30 to 40 centimetres of water in order for the slide to land in that. Then you need to start treating it more like a pool. You have to have lifeguards on. You have to have a significant amount of I suppose, cost in terms of operational staff. So it's a completely different type of water play experience, I think. There are a few of those around. Obviously, the Olympic swimming pool at Homebush has got that kind of water play. There's Aquatopia out in Prairie Vale, but they're both paid spaces. And it was council was really wanting to make sure that this was accessible to all of our community. We have large families, and we recognise the fact that a day out at a water play park, it shouldn't have to cost an arm and a leg. So
cool. Thank you so much, Emily. And another question here. I'm wondering what features have been integrated to support native wildlife. Will there be nest boxes and artificial hollows, wildlife corridor planning in terms of the plant species spoken? I'm privileged to hear our council officers talking about planting all the time, and I am exposed to a lot of fans of native plantings that are really good for the environment. Emily, you're one of those great advocates. Can you, or Colin, tell us a bit more?
Well, I mean, native plants tend to be the better performers. If you plant the right plant, 9 times out of 10, a native's going to do a better job. But I'm not hard and fast on that. I do like exotic plantings as well. So there will be a combination of both within this play space. We're not specifically designing or aiming for this to meet that need, but there will be native plants throughout. So sensory planting is an important part of an inclusive play space. So different textures with different types of plants and different scents that come with those as well. But we're not specifically planning for it with this play space.
Thank you. All right, everyone. The questions seem to have slowed down. We've got a comment there. Thanks for that. And if you have any more questions, please get them in now, because otherwise we're going to finish up in a couple of minutes.
Good question.
And I want to finish sharing my screen. I'll remind everyone that to have your say on this project, please check out CB City Have Your Say. And that's cb.city/have-your-say. And I'll follow up with an email with more information about the project and how to get involved in our Have Your Say website after this. Our feedback window closes on Sunday, the 21st of June, and then we'll go into more detailed designs with a goal of opening this up late next year in time for summer.
Mm-hmm.
We had 1 or 2 questions come in quickly, and we'll address those before we finish up. Planning to complete the project by the summer of 2021. Another question that's come in: can we discuss a basketball court? A lot of kids in the area are interested in this sport. Mm-hmm. Emily or Colin, are you able to comment on that?
Yeah, right in the beginning of my, when I started talking, I mentioned that there is an area where there's an existing skate park over near, sort of further towards Waterloo Road. That skate park is sort of below par. It's not actually well used. there is an opportunity. It's a perfect size for a basketball court or 2 half courts to occupy that space. So it is probably something we will recommend as part of the master planning for the entire site, but it's not on the delivery program for this particular splash park. Yeah. It's been identified, it's been flagged, but it's not part of the immediate delivery.
Cool, thank you. All right, with that, we are going to finish up. Thanks so much for coming to this webinar, and I hope to see you in person perhaps next time, another time soon. And do check out cb.city, have your say, and have your feedback on the project. Thanks so much, everyone, and have a good night.
Bye.